I'm going to open the meeting. Welcome to the 2018 deliberative session for the Penny Baker Regional School District. My name is Quentin Blaine. I'm the moderator for the school district. And we'll start the meeting if you'd all rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a flag at the end of the table and one on the wall.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Moorhead just reminded me that everybody to put their phones on silent. I hope everyone has registered to vote with their supervisors of the checklist from each town. And if you haven't, you can take a moment to do that. Are there any individuals in the room, Mr. Parsons, who's not a registered voter for the district? This is a deliberative session for what we call an SB2 meeting. So tonight, we will review the warrant that's been prepared by the school board, and we can ask questions and get some more information on it if that's what we want to do, and we can contemplate amendments if there are any amendments from the floor. Other than that, we're not voting on the article itself. The voting will be done on election day, which is March 13th this year, as usual. If you have a question, please go to the microphone, and each time you use the microphone, please give your name and your town of residence, so we have that information as well. And with that, we'll start the meeting with Article 1, negotiate and execute tuition contracts. To see if the school district will vote to authorize the school board to negotiate and execute such tuition contracts as the board may determine advisable for students inside or outside the Penny Baker Regional School District. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to move this article.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, so we can discuss it. Is there any discussion, any explanation from the board? I think it's a routine article. Or any questions? Seeing no questions, or this article will be on the ballot on March 13th as written. Which brings us to Article 2, to authorize special education borrowing. To see if the school district will vote to authorize and empower the school board to borrow up to $104,000, representing a portion of the state of New Hampshire's share of special education costs for the 2018-19 school year, pursuant to RSA 198:20-D, upon such terms and conditions as the school board determines is in the best interest of the district. Said sum together with the cost of borrowing to be repaid by the state of New Hampshire pursuant to RSA 198:20-D, or to take any action in relation thereto. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
Make the motion as
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on Article 2?
Well, I guess.
Mr. Moorhead.
Dave Moorhead, Plymouth, New Hampshire. Just some of the money we got stuck for that we wound up having to come up with extra money, or did the state pay us back this last time, this past year?
No, David, in this article, it's just an authorization to borrow money in case we need to for special ed. We've never had to do this before. It's just an authorization to borrow money in case we have a special ed program that moves to the district after the budget is approved. And rather than shut down spending in a lot of other categories, this allows us to borrow money. And then anything above 3.5 times the state average, the state will reimburse us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing no further discussion, Article 2 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 3, School Board Contingency Fund. To see if the school district will vote to establish a contingency fund in accordance with our revised statutes annotated 198:4-B. Such contingency fund to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the year, and further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 for such contingency fund. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
I move the article.
Article's been moved. Is there a second? And it's seconded. Is there any discussion about the article? Seeing no discussion, Article 3 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 4, support staff agreement. And this one reads in a little bit of an unusual way, but to see if the school district will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the school board and the Plymouth Regional Education Support Staff Association, which calls for the following decreases in salaries and benefits. For the year 2018-2019, the estimated decrease is $6,283. For the year 2019-2020, it's $7,694. For the year 2020 to 2021, the estimated decrease is $3,809. Upon passage of this article, the operating budget in Article 7 shall be reduced by the sum of $6,283, said sum representing the reduced costs attributable to the decrease in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels in accordance with the most recent collective bargaining agreement. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
I move the article.
Second.
The article's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And I hope there's a question on how this worked out. Maybe I'll ask the question. Mr. Halloran, do you have any?
Mr. Brickley will address it.
Mr. Brickley?
Sure, I'd be happy to address it. The reason why it's a decrease is because the support staff agreed to move to another healthcare plan, and there were significant cost savings involved in that. It's called a site of service plan. Very good plan. And essentially, the cost savings of the health plan paid for the wage increases and then some.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Follow-up question I have, again, on Moorhead. Did they wind up getting less benefits from what they went from to what they're going to? I mean,
In terms of health care?
Yeah.
I don't believe that's correct. I think it's essential. It's a solid plan. It's called a site of service as opposed to a PPO or an HMO. And I think Mr. Rosner can answer more specific questions about it. But essentially, I think the way it works is that the health insurance company enters into an agreement on costs with particular providers. And if you go to that provider, then it's covered. Otherwise, you'd be responsible for a deductible. Our current deductibles are $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 for single, two-person, or family. But the district agreed to pay for the deductibles too. Even doing that, it's a big cost savings, so it's a win-win for both sides.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any further questions or any further discussion in regard to Article 4? Seeing no further comments or discussion, Article 4 will appear as written on the official ballot. Article 5, purchase of real property. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of purchasing the 11-acre property in the town of Plymouth abutting the current school property known as the Fletcher property, tax map 103, lot 16. The school board recommends this article.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move the article.
Second.
The article's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments or discussions? Mr. Halloran.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to give you a brief synopsis of how this came about. Our neighbor, Richard Fletcher, who in the past has been very kind to both school districts and donated land prior to building the new Plymouth Elementary School back in 1989-90. Mr. Fletcher unfortunately passed away, and the land went to his estate. The 11 acres basically is that whole piece that runs behind us along the Baker River, and most of it is straight downhill, and it's a sandy soil, and in some areas you can see it collapsing. But the top part of that land has, we had the top part surveyed, has about 2.5 acres of very usable land for us, potentially for practice athletic fields, and a little bit of room for the district to expand in the future if it needs to. Also, across the land, we currently use it as a site for cross-country skiing. A lot of the heritage trails move through that land, and it was the thought of the board that we want to protect those opportunities, because a future landowner, we don't have anything in writing. There's a sewer easement over that land. Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District has a sewer easement over that land, but we don't have a legal agreement to use the land. So we want to protect those opportunities too. Our cross-country runners and our cross-country skiers go over a lot of the Fletcher property. So it was an opportunity to purchase this land. It's about 11 acres. And we've made a purchase and sale agreement contingent upon a vote of the district that we would purchase it for $20,000. In terms of Plymouth taxpayers saying there's potentially another piece of property going off the tax rolls, all the land is in current use. And the last tax bill I saw for the previous year was less than $20 because of the slope of the land and the potential use of the land. So, pardon?
Floodplain.
Yes, yeah. So but it has great value to us as a school district. So we're recommending that the district purchase it again. And it's for the future. It's a move for the future.
Are there any further questions or comments about Article 5? Not seeing any. Article 5 will appear as written on the ballot as written. Article 6, advisory article, property sale. To see if the school district would direct the school board to sell the property located at Highland Street, Plymouth, tax map 108, lot 97, at price and terms to be negotiated by the school board in the best interest of the district. This article is advisory only. Is there a motion?
I would like to move the article.
Second.
Okay, Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Mr. Halloran?
Just briefly, as obviously we were looking at land, quite some time ago, the Penny Baker Regional School District bought a lot previously known as the Locker Plant lot. It abuts Highland Street, right next door to where the Katy office is, sort of a kitty corner across the street from the Kent property and the intersection of Highland Street and Broadway. And the district purchased that so it would have access to Highland Street in case in the future we needed to run a driveway up or we needed to do something. Since that time, the district purchased a house and had a house removed. It's been rebuilt. It's a historical house. It's been rebuilt in New York State. But we have a beautiful frontage now on Highland Street that is right in front of Broadway, and we have a curb cut. So we do have access to Highland Street for the future. And so we want to get a sense of the district, whether the district would like us to sell that property. And it would be a private sale. There are some deed restrictions on the lot, so the use of the lot would basically be a single-family home. There is a water and sewer connection there and a curb cut for a driveway. There's a little bit of a right-of-way for the Cranes. Their driveway goes over a little piece of the corner of that lot to get down back into their property. But what we're asking the district is, would you like us to sell that in the near future for Plymouth to get it back on the tax rolls, and then just, we don't want to be a real estate holding company. We'd like to get rid of a couple of these assets.
Thank you. Are there any questions or further discussion? Seeing none. Article 6 will appear on the official ballot as written. Article 7, operating budget. Shall the Penny Baker Regional School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with a warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $14,542,519. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $14,490,024, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Penny Baker Regional School Board or by law, or the governing board may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numerals 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. This sum excludes the sums in warrant articles 2, 3, 4, and 5. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
I move the article.
Article 7 has been moved and seconded.
I have a question.
If you have a question, please go to the microphone. Thank you.
With the shrinking student body, are there any staff changes?
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Mrs. Taylor. If you look at the green sheet, you can see we currently have 68 positions that are funded. This budget contains 66.2, and the support staff basically is there are 42.7 positions, the same as FY18. At 21.4 of those positions, 50% of them are special ed aides. But this chart will take you, there were some up the front, and it will take you, if you look back at 2009, when we had 803 students, we had 77.7 full-time equivalents, and we are at, we're expecting 663 students now, and now that's down to 66.2. So you can follow the decrease in staffing along with the decrease in enrollment.
Mr. Moderator, may I ask another question?
Certainly.
Are there any new or innovative programs going on next September?
Mr. Moderator, if I could ask permission for the principal, we have an exciting new program in the CTE program that's just been approved by the state of New Hampshire, and we have a lot of other great things going on, but if Mr. Parsons could have permission to speak to those programs.
Certainly. Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We have a brand new position, as the superintendent talked about. It's just been approved by the state too. It's a communication and multimedia broadcasting. It's extremely innovative, and when we polled the students, it was one of the areas that the students were really interested in. We currently run a small portion, like a video editing in that piece, and it's extremely popular. One of the biggest things that had to be done is that articulation agreement. We had to cross our T's and dot our I's to make that happen, and it did. Kudos to Mrs. McLean, who was responsible for putting that together. She also went forward, and we had an agreement with the college, Plymouth University, who has a program, and they're excited about the new process and the program that we're going to have. It'll be housed right down here off to your right. We'll have a TV studio, communication, video editing. It's a complete career, brand new tech program for us. In the meantime, coming up on, we come back from February vacation, March 1st, we're excited to start that CTE renovation. We're doing a complete change renovation process with culinary arts, marketing, our drafting program. Health Walk has expanded. The number of students that have enrolled in that program is off the charts. Keep in mind, we have an agreement with Newfound, and again, it's very popular within that program. So as we move forward to next year, I think I'll be excited to be having the public in to look at these, and we're really thankful for the passage of that piece, that 75% is being covered by the state, and that process will start March 1st, and hopefully, with the change in the calendar, we'll be starting late next year after Labor Day. We're looking at a year and a half, but one of those new programs is that multimedia. It's only going to be the one teacher. We're not going to be adding another teacher to that program, but we already got a number of students that are asking for that program. And again, as I said, with the renovations of those other programs, drafting, health art, the improvements will just be ongoing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I was wondering why we hadn't had a tour of the renovations yet, and now I know why. So
We haven't
that
started
clears
yet.
that up. Okay, all right, thank you.
I'll get that information out as soon as we do. We're happy to take people around.
Are there any further questions, or is there any further discussion on Article 7? Seeing none, Article 7 will appear on the official ballot as written. Which brings us to the end of the meeting and other business, and I recognize Catherine Hahn at first. David?
I need to publicly thank Melinda Johnston for serving as representative from the town of Thornton. You stepped up when we needed someone, and you've chaired committees, you've done a lot of work, and Melinda is not running again. So I would just like to present you.
Mr. Moorhead?
I just have one quick question, I'm Dave Moorhead again. How's the, we put in the,
Wood chip.
huh?
Wood chip?
Yeah, how's it working?
We're thrilled. We're thrilled. It's really gone well. Mr. Rosner may speak to the economics of it in terms of the reduction in oil. At the same time, David, we redid all the lighting systems, and we tracked all of that. And we've saved over $40,000 in this past school year from just the new lighting and some of the new motors that went in. The delivery of wood chips, which folks thought might be an issue, has become no issue. They come when in the off hours. We've had very little downtime. We've had a number of visitors. In fact, we had a group from Wisconsin that was here early in the fall to look at what we were doing. And so it's a very innovative project. And we'll begin to, at the end of this year, we will have some good numbers on the cost of the wood chips versus the number of gallons that we would have used. So we're really happy with how it's gone. Thank you for the question. And thank you for the questions, Mrs. Taylor.
I was just curious.
Yes. Ms. Richards?
I can't let this occasion go without my saying something. I've been here in a while. Excuse me, Martha Richards from Holderness. As I was thinking about coming tonight, because I should do my civic duty, I want to, and I know perhaps you don't like these kinds of questions because you'll tell me I could come to committee meetings, but I don't. And the evening is yet young. Can you tell me, Bruce, what you think the strengths are of Plymouth High School, since my kids were here?
The strength of this high school is the commitment that this community has to this school, the staff, and the bonding that the teachers and the faculty go that extra yard. I think if you ask the students, it's just not the academic piece, that it takes a village to, that's extremely true at this high school. They have a passion for what they do. Kids are held. I hope that we hold kids accountable.
Are they nice to each other when you hear about things around the country and social media and all that?
They are. We have some strict rules here at this high school, whether it's with cell phone use, the dress code, and I try to be as consistent as I can be as we, take these kids through the process. The social media does not help us. That phone that is constantly. The communication that when kids are harassing or whatever with each other, but we deal with it. We deal with it, and I know you're going to see, I'm going to finish with the NEAC. We're doing a third accreditation, and I'm proud to say that 99% of the staff and 99% of the student body said they felt safe at this high school. So that speaks for itself. And in today's world, and that's not just because of Bruce Bassett, that's because of the wonderful staff and the leadership that we have here amongst you. But that's a big number, 99%. That speaks for itself.
That's good to hear.
Because they do. They go above and beyond, whether they need extra help or calling home or whatever, because, the rules have changed. The school has become a 24-hour service. because, there's things happening out there that come in our plate the next day that we deal with. We're very fortunate to have a crisis intervention, very fortunate to have a school psychologist. These are all people that are, intricate to make this building run. But it's that connection, Martha, that the people, they feel a connection here when they walk in this door.
Oh,
Are
that's
there
good to
places
hear.
that need to be improved? Absolutely. We're constantly looking at that too. Constantly as we move forward, looking at the curriculum, the academics, and that piece forward.
Because Fran was asking about innovative programs, and my old bug of years ago were new languages being introduced. And I know with the dropping student body that the world is changing. Are those kinds of things being introduced?
No, they're not. It's expensive. We're still with the two world languages, Spanish and French. With each new innovative program, we try to keep this budget, accordingly. I mean, you looked at the numbers, 670, 680. I try to keep the class sizes, so we're not overpopulated in that area because kids learn differently now. They do. We have to do a lot of personalization. We don't have an alternative program. So we've got to create within the building programs that work for those students. We've had a zero dropout rate in the last couple of years because we've had to personalize the education of those kids coming in. The superintendent's office has done a remarkable job of getting all these 7 schools now that come in on, whether we're dealing with math, the science textbooks, everything's online now. So that piece has really helped the high school as we move forward.
It's quite a different
but
place.
I really, and talk is cheap. Come on in, and don't tell me when you're coming. Give me a call, come on in, I'd be happy to take you through. Come on down to lunch, walk through the classrooms, and, to actually see it in action. Obviously, we start knocking the building around March 1st. It'll be a little different, because we're moving all those programs out into the main building. But I still encourage you to come on in and see the engagement and just see what this building's all about.
Thank you. On another note, with this communications program, I went to Mascoma High School's opening last fall. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's
Beautiful.
phenomenal. I'm so excited for that community, and it's, as a result, people are now moving into the area, which is great.
They wait a long
But
time.
their communications program and these young kids doing DJ work and radio announcements and whatnot, is that going to be kind of what it is here, or is it strictly a career-type program?
It's going to be a career-type program with multifaceted, whether it's a communication piece, the video editing, the graphics piece. It's going to be a number of career pieces.
Yeah, I would urge you, though, to take a look at that program at Mascoma, because that's something that's really drawn those kids together over there, from what I've heard, and a theater to die for, too. So it's very exciting what's happening in Grafton County. Well, thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Are there any other questions or comments to come before the meeting? Not seeing any, I will entertain, yes, Mr. Taylor. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Thank you for being ahead of it. We stand adjourned.